This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
This entire show is stolen by a 4-team ladder match with the tag champs Kendrick and London keeping the titles against Regal and Taylor, as well as late additions M&M and the Hardys. Meltzer would say the addition of...
Sorry.
You all right?
It's like my maracas.
But you know that we're recording right now.
Oh, shit.
People are going to hear this, you see.
Wait a minute. I thought we were just talking.
Oh.
Well, you just called me.
You didn't. You introduced us.
You need to be a little bit more clear.
You introduced me on the show. You opened the show today. This excuse won't work today.
Okay, let's do the show tomorrow.
Meltzer would say the addition of M&M and the Hardys and the ladder stipulation was done late. It may have helped for a lackluster show had it been advertised, but the decision to go with it came late. I don't know that advertising that it's a ladder match or that you've got 2 more teams in there would have necessarily added anything or moved the needle much at the very last minute. But Regal and Taylor, not exactly ladder match guys, and now they find themselves in this spot here. Ultimately, as we said, London and Kendrick get the win. Teddy Long's going to announce the ladder stipulation. The fans are chanting for the Hardys after they see the M&M team come out. The Hardys are the clear crowd favorite, and that's probably not different these days. Meltzer would say it was telling that the 2 most over acts on a SmackDown pay-per-view were a tag team that isn't supposed to exist, featuring a guy on Raw and Cena. This was your classic car crash match. It was a series of stunts, which at the time told a little story, and at other times was just setting up a new crazy spot. They did a gimmick where Regal and Taylor were afraid of heights, so when they had the advantage, they would, particularly Regal. He would be so hesitant to climb that they'd blow the chance. Mercury was on top, and all the other wrestlers picked up the ladder from the bottom and it tipped over. He went flying over the top rope and crashed on a Nitro who broke his fall. There was a spot in the match where Jeff Hardy came off the top rope onto one side of the ladder for a teeter-totter spot that was about to take out both members of M&M. It did the job too well as the ladder smashed into Mercury's nose and left eye. Blood was flying everywhere. It was clear his eyes would be swollen shut very quickly. Medical personnel rushed to the scene and got him backstage in what was a very scary scene. It's very rare to leave in the middle of the match, particularly in one that had more pre-planned spots involving him. In fact, not only did many aspects of the match at that point seem to have to be improvised, but Mercury was heavily involved in the planned finish, which was all done now on the fly. He's rushed to the hospital, diagnosed with 4 different fractures of the nose. He needed 5 stitches on the inside of the nose and cheek and 15 more stitches on the outside, as well as his left eye being swollen shut as of the next day. This is one of the more gruesome injuries we would ever see in WWE. And people would still be talking about this match, maybe for the in-ring performance had it not been for that. But Lord, when he got hurt, man, it's all anybody remembers. What do you remember of this?
Well, I mean, from my vantage point, it was just horrible. It was ugly, and we were concerned. Having, been in a situation where Brock Lesnar kicked a wall into my face and not knowing if my eye was there, I was afraid because we looked and Joey's face was just a mask of blood and no one could tell other than he was badly injured. So we immediately sent the trainer down to say, hey, go assess what the hell's going on in there and get him out of there. And Joey didn't want to go. Joey wanted to stay in the match. But the initial assessment, we looked at it and we got him back immediately and got him wrapped up because, again, there was the fear of losing his eye and no one knew the extent of how bad this injury could be. So we called for an ambulance. And there's a law, like when you're in a building, okay? We always have, first of all, we have our own medical team there, but we also always have an ambulance service there. The building usually has an ambulance service, and they can double. So you can have the building and you can use it. The only thing is that you cannot, there always has to be an ambulance there. So if someone goes in the ambulance, that you've got to wait now for another ambulance to come and replace the ambulance that you're taking that person to the hospital in. So when you have a dangerous situation like this where someone is injured severely and you're looking at it and they're going, well, we got to wait for the next ambulance to get here. It's like, no, you need to go. And Stephanie McMahon came in. I remember Stephanie pounding on the window of the ambulance, just saying, you know, you're going to go and you're going to go now. And they pulled up like they were going to go, but they didn't leave. And boy, that brought all of us out and eventually got them to leave. And the second ambulance showed up about 5 minutes later. But, you know, it's scary stuff like that people don't understand. And that you got an ambulance there. Well, that ambulance can't leave till another one shows up. So now we try and do 2 ambulances so that our ambulance, if something happens, it can go.
That's crazy to think about. I would have never known.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's insanity, man. Especially when you know there's another ambulance on the way. It'll be here in 5 minutes, but no, I'm not going to leave here. And I guess by the word of the law that they can't, but it's very frustrating on the other side of that. And, you know, Joey was a trooper. He was coherent the whole time and just nobody knew how bad it was going to be. And thankfully it wasn't as bad as it could have been, but it was an ugly one.
Johnny Nitro would later say, I happened to be looking up, so it hit me in the throat, but Mercury was looking straight at it and it hit him square in the nose and the orbital bone. It could have really been any one of us. I was just lucky that the ladder hit him first. And Matt Hardy would say, I'll always remember the match for what we did to Joey Mercury's face. After the seesaw, I remember hearing him yell, I'm bleeding. And it was like someone went to a sink and turned the faucet on. It was gruesome. And of course the match must continue, but this creates absolute chaos, at least for a moment in the ring here, does it not?
Yeah, I mean, it did, but the guys kept going. And Joey, you know, not knowing how serious his injuries are, is going along the thought process of, oh, I got to finish the match. I'm just bleeding a little bit or a lot. But once we got him off there, and once Larry got to him, it was like, no, we're pulling you from the match. You're coming back now. It was a very serious injury and just a crazy accident. And knock on wood, you know, we're very fortunate that we haven't had more crazy injuries like that in some of those ladder matches, because you never know where those things are going to go.
I get it. It's a wrestling podcast, but he's saving us money on our mortgage. Do you really trust this process? The reviews don't lie. 5-star review after 5-star review. We make it fast, we make it easy, and it's no cost or obligation. Give us a shot to earn your business. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did, especially if you like keeping more of your own money. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket, so what are you waiting for? Hurry to savewithconrad.com. Joey Mercury has been praised a lot as one of the more great wrestling minds, and I know that he had a run with WWE. He's going to be in and out for a while, and various other promotions since then. But this is a pretty big injury here, and I know he's had some other challenges at different times. Do you think that his career trajectory with the WWE was ever the same after this injury? I mean, I know he did a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and he was a part of Seth Rollins' crew on camera and working with the Authority. And I mean, I'm not saying he didn't have wrestling value, but it does feel like his in-ring career after this, I don't know. It feels like it became more and more what else he could contribute to wrestling. Am I making sense?
I think so. I didn't work with, obviously I didn't work with him after 2008. And so I really can't say as to what degree he was able to deliver on the other side of the coin, if you will, on the creative side and with his head. I never experienced that, so I can't really speak to it.
I want to mention that he winds up being released from his WWE contract in March of the following year. Had a good run, a couple of years with Ring of Honor, and then he's back in 2010, I think in April. But a few years after that, man, he's going to start being a part of that J&J Security, him and Jamie Noble, and that was all good stuff. And anyway, 42, so we're pulling for him. Still a very, very young man. I think he's got a big old future in front of him. Kendrick does a sliced bread number 2, or he goes to do it with Regal off the top of the ladder, but Kendrick landed all wrong. Regal sells it like he's knocked out. Kendrick's hurting pretty bad, suffering a legitimate rib injury, and he's even foaming at the mouth here. London finally, in an improvised finish, climbs to the top for the win. 4 1/4 stars. I think Meltzer nailed it when he described this as a car crash. It's the most talked about, planned out situation ever when you've got a match like this and 8 different guys, but chaos ensues when a real injury happens. And I think this is worth going out of your way to see again, just because of what it is. What say you?
But we warn our listeners, the scenes you're about to see are gruesome.
Yeah, buddy.
You should warn your children. Parental guidance.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.